Title: The Locked Door. I didn't believe in ghosts, or at least, I didn't think I did. But I've always had a thing for old houses. That's how I ended up renting a small, run-down cottage on the edge of town, right by the woods. The landlord told me it had been vacant for years, but there was no way I was passing up the price. It was cheap, and the place had character: rubble stone walls, crooked windows, and a creaky wooden staircase that added charm, at least to me. But there was one thing the landlord didn't tell me. There was a door in the basement that had been locked for as long as anyone could remember. I first discovered it a couple of days after I moved in. The basement wasn't huge, just a small, damp room with a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. But in one corner, partially obscured by boxes of old junk, there was this door. It was made of thick oak, with brass handles, and no matter how hard I looked, I couldn't see any way to open it. At first, I thought it was just an old storage room. Maybe it led to a wine cellar, or maybe just another crawl space. But something about it felt wrong. The door didn't have a lock, but it was sealed shut, almost like it was meant to be left alone. I thought it was strange, but I had no real reason to care. Weeks went by, and I mostly forgot about it, until one night, when the house started to feel different. It started as just a vague sense of unease, something I couldn't shake when I was in the house alone after dark. A feeling that something was watching me. That I wasn't alone, even when there was no one there. It wasn't loud, but it was always there, like a hum under my skin. One evening, I was down in the basement, moving some boxes around, when I heard it, the sound of something scraping against the door. At first, I thought it was just the house settling. You know, old houses creak and groan. But then it happened again, louder this time. A slow, deliberate scrape. As if someone was trying to get out. My heart stopped. I froze in place, staring at the door. I don't know why I didn't leave immediately, but I couldn't bring myself to. I stood there, not moving, not breathing, just listening. The scrape came again, and then, silence. I couldn't take it. I had to know what was behind that door. I grabbed a crowbar from the tool shed and pried the door open. It took a lot more force than I expected, as if the door had been sealed shut on purpose. When it finally gave way, I stumbled into the small, dark room beyond. There was nothing there. Just an empty, dusty space. But as I stood in the middle of the room, I felt an overwhelming wave of dread. The air felt heavy, thick, like it was pressing against my chest. And that's when I saw it. On the far wall, behind some old shelves, was a small, cracked mirror. I don't know why it caught my attention. I didn't remember seeing it when I first came into the room, and I'm certain it wasn't there before. But there it was, hanging crookedly on the wall. I stepped closer, my pulse quickening. I swear, as I peered into the glass, I saw something move, just out of the corner of my eye. A shadow, or maybe it was just a trick of the light. I leaned in closer. Then I saw it clearly. In the reflection, standing right behind me, was a figure. It wasn't me. The person in the mirror wasn't even human. It was pale, with hollow eyes and a mouth that stretched too wide, a grotesque grin frozen on its face. Its hands were outstretched, as if it was reaching for me. I whipped around, but there was nothing there. I spun back to the mirror, my breath coming in quick gasps, but the reflection was back to normal, just my own face staring back at me. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen in fear. Eventually, I left the room, slammed the door shut, and locked it. I didn't go back down to the basement for days. But the feeling, it never left. Every night, the house felt heavier. The walls seemed to close in around me. And every night, I'd hear the scraping again. That slow, deliberate sound, like something was trying to get out of that room. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't stay in the house anymore. It wasn't just the noises, it was the feeling that something was in the shadows, something just out of sight, waiting, watching. And so I left. I packed up and found another place to stay, but before I left, I made sure to do one last thing. I drove to the house and went down into the basement. The door was still locked. But I didn't go near it. Instead, I walked to the corner of the room where the mirror had been. And this time, I knew it wasn't just a trick of the light. The mirror was gone. Please like and follow.